What the mainstream media was afraid to tell you about the news this week. This week, while the mainstream media obsessed about changing the narrative of the Mueller hearings, here are the things that happened that really matter. Following more than 6 hours of sworn testimony by former special counsel Robert Mueller, it is perfectly clear there was no collusion, no conspiracy between Donald Trump and the Russians, and no proof of a crime of obstruction. Robert Mueller also said he was not impeded in his investigation. In addition, a prosecutor like Robert Mueller cannot exonerate somebody or declare that somebody is not exonerated. A prosecutor can only prove somebody guilty or not. But did the mainstream media report on the facts of what Mueller actually said during his testimony, or report the facts about the legal role of a prosecutor? Nope. The mainstream media purposely ignored the truth. A transgender person named Jessica Yaniv forced an immigrant woman in Canada to shut down her business because the woman declined to wax the trans person's testicles. That's right. Yaniv claims it is a human right to force a woman to touch male genitalia, even if the woman doesn't want to. So Yaniv is suing the esthetician who couldn't afford to fight the lawsuit and so closed down her business. But did the mainstream media report on this bullying of an immigrant woman, or the horrible sexism of trying to use the law to compel a woman to touch male genitalia if the woman doesn't want to? Nope. The mainstream media didn't say a word because the left says any criticism of this sort of thing is transphobic. A Democrat state representative in Georgia named Erica Thomas claimed that a white man screamed at her in a grocery store to, quote, go back home because she's black. But it turns out Erica Thomas lied. The man wasn't white, first of all, he was Cuban. He wasn't a Republican, he's a Democrat, and he never said, go back home. In fact, Erica Thomas was the one who yelled, go back home, to the Cuban-American man. But here's the thing. First with Kavanaugh, and then the Covington Catholic kids, then Jussie Smollett, and now Erica Thomas, the left doesn't care that the hoaxes are fake. The left wants to believe them, because they seem to substantiate the left's baseless narrative that all Republicans are racists who stir up racial animosity to get votes. But did the mainstream media report the truth and condemn Erica Thomas for stirring up racial animosity in order to get attention? No. The mainstream media barely corrected their original report where they falsely blamed President Trump. Real Clear Investigations reports that former FBI Director James Comey was secretly working to investigate and build a case against President Trump while he told Trump that Trump was not under investigation. Paul Sperry reports that this revelation is included in the Department of Justice Inspector General's upcoming report. If true, this means Comey refused to say that Trump wasn't under investigation publicly because Comey was lying to Trump privately, which would mean that when Trump fired Comey and Mueller was appointed as special counsel because Trump fired Comey, the whole narrative from the left was built on a house of Comey's lies. But did the mainstream media report on this? No, they did not. Of course not, because this undercuts the left's entire narrative on obstruction. Senator Bernie Sanders says we must raise the minimum wage to $15 an hour. He says anything less is a starvation wage. But then his own campaign staffers reveal that Bernie Sanders pays them less than $15 an hour. And when they made a fuss and Bernie finally caved and paid them $15 an hour, he cut their hours so that he can afford that wage. Meanwhile, Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib says $15 an hour, that is not enough. She says we must raise the minimum wage to $20 an hour. But a posting on a job board for her campaign shows she only pays her staff $15 an hour. But did the mainstream media point out their hypocrisy? Nope. The mainstream media didn't say a word. The mainstream media doesn't care to report any of that to you, so we will. And that is my final point.